Let's get into it. So much news to get to today in Washington, D.C. So President Trump arriving in Washington, D.C., goes to the White House, meets with President Biden. He meets with the House, and shakes hands with Mike Johnson. He got a standing ovation among House Republicans, gave a speech there. Elon Musk was in the room at the time. He stood up, got a standing ovation. That was a big moment there. And then, of course, he arrives at the White House, and President Biden shakes hands with him. This was a really awkward moment because President Biden said, "Welcome back." And he was thrilled to see him. Welcome back. And the smirking going on because I think according to reports, President Biden and Jill Biden voted for President Trump. So this was like the scorched earth strategy, and said it was going to be a smooth transition back into the White House. It'd be a totally smooth environment.
What else would you say? It makes total sense to say welcome back.
Yeah, I guess you would, right?
Gentlemanly.
This is come back to your house. It's kind of weird, though, because he beat him.
Yeah.
Right? So he kicked him out of the house.
Right.
And then it's like kicking a roommate out. Now he's coming back.
But Trump is not kicking out Biden. The Democrats did that.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. The coup that took place is the thing that kicked him out. Before we get to the Senate battle, we have to talk about all of the breaking news that happened just a few minutes ago, right before we came to air. So your new Attorney General, if he is, of course, confirmed, would be Matt Gaetz. Congressman Matt Gaetz will be the new Attorney General of the United States. President Trump choosing him just a few minutes ago. That's great news. So you're getting some good and the bad here, right? You're getting some great nominations. They have to be appointments.
Well, it's interesting news because, one, he introduced a bill to remove troops from Syria. He's actually paying attention to the fact that the United States is illegally occupying Syria. He has introduced bills to withdraw from Ukraine.
Yemen?
He has, yes, introduced bills, that's right, to withdraw from Yemen. And he has been vocal about weaponizing the federal government and the Justice Department specifically. So him in charge of the Justice Department would put somebody who's looking out for the fact that the Justice Department would not be actively working to dethrone Donald Trump, which happened when the FBI decided to interfere with the election by hiding the Hunter Biden laptop story and lying to the American people about it.
Yeah, so Matt Gaetz, fabulous choice for Attorney General. I'm thrilled about this choice. Tulsi Gabbard, also announced today as head of Director of National Intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard, amazing choice.
She was targeted by national intelligence.
And now she'll be heading
it. She was spied on. She was stopped at national security checkpoints as a threat. Now she's going to get some insight into why that happened. Can I see my file, dudes?
Yeah.
Now that I'm the boss?
Why am I considered a terrorist? I served my country with distinction. I was in Congress, and you're flagging me as a threat on aircraft? Like, hi, I'm in charge now.
Right.
Hello, I'm in charge. Also in charge of the
Department of State.
The Department of State.
Marco Rubio. Where's our flashing poop emoji?
So we talked about this yesterday, of course, or 2 days ago now. Was it 2 days ago? No, yesterday we talked about it here on the show, and we warned all of you that this was probably going to happen, and we had hoped that it wouldn't. Trump took a long time to actually make this official after these leaks came out. I want to know where the leaks came from, though, on Marco Rubio. Who leaked this information? Did Marco Rubio leak this information? Mm-hmm. I want to know how long this guy is going to be in this job. He is not an America First guy. He's absolutely a warmonger, and he's a pro-Israel guy. So he is Israel first, warmonger.
He's a Ukraine first, Israel first. He loves war. There's not a war he met that he hasn't joined the Clean Plate Club on that war.
And even, go ahead.
I was going to say, isn't it a silver lining, though, that if he doesn't follow Trump's agenda, he can get rid of him at any point, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. He wants to end the war in Ukraine. He doesn't want to escalate in the Middle East. So if Rubio steps out of line, you're fired. And I think that would be an amazing. So I hope that, we'll see how this goes. Right. Does a leopard, though, change its spots? Is that the phrase? Does a cheetah change its stripes?
I mean, that guy talks a lot of shit. I would love to see him walk into a room with Vladimir Putin and talk that kind of shit to his face. I doubt he would do that if he was forced to be part of the peace envoy.
Yeah, he was also in cahoots with Victoria Nuland, right? You'll recall that whole thing. So I'm not a fan. Even Tulsi Gabbard basically says that, he would be a terrible choice. And Ron Paul yesterday says if anyone is focused on America first, first. This is a terrible choice for America. You have people like Elise Stefanik also being chosen by Trump. Again, Israel first as a UN ambassador. So again, it's basically like Israel gets 2 ambassadors to the United Nations. America's, which is now Israel first, and their own in the United Nations. This also comes on a day, by the way, when Turkey has just announced they're done. They're done. We have no relations any longer with Israel. We're finished, and there are no connections to these countries at all anymore. So this comes at a really interesting moment. And so again, you get some good and you get some bad. You get Matt Gaetz, you get Tulsi Gabbard, and then you get Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. And just a few minutes ago, of course, the Senate voting to put in place John Thune. Now look at your screen here. It was Rick Scott of Florida. You have John Cornyn in the center, and you have John Thune on the right-hand side. He will now replace, on the right-hand side, John Thune will now replace Mitch McConnell as the majority leader in the Senate. And what's really crazy is Rick Scott only missed the second ballot by just 2 votes. So MAGA lost in the Senate. And, we do not want Thune in there at all. Remember, Tucker Carlson just a few days ago posted, they're going to have the secret ballot. You gotta call your members of Congress right now and demand Rick Scott as your choice, because otherwise you're going to have like another Mitch McConnell in there kind of pushing up against this. Thune has been around, he's a swamp rat. He's been around since 2005. He's like your classic establishment guy. He loves Ukraine. He loves Zelensky. He's a Mitch McConnell type of guy. I don't know.
Was he one of the authors of that crappy border bill? I thought I remembered seeing his name on it.
That's a good question.
Because they said it was bipartisan, and I thought he was one of the authors or sponsors. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure he was.
Something I teach my kids: if you don't know, just say I don't know, Daddy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. To be honest with you, that's a blind spot for me. But we'll see what kind of Republican Party looks like that now. And with him being able to push through the agenda, Charlie Kirk, I think, summed it up well. He tweeted this just a few minutes ago and said, John Thune is Senate Majority Leader. He has a short window to show us that he will support President Trump, fill his cabinet positions, confirm his judges, and pass his agenda. If he does, we will support him. If he doesn't, we will work to remove him. And you should remember that President Trump has a mandate. I mean, he has an absolute mandate because all of the Republicans that he supported that ran in this election won. Those that won because of Trump's support and overwhelming popular vote support for President Trump. So he has the mandate right now. So will John Thune get in the way of this? You recall the last time, 2017, when they were trying to put all of these things in place after his inauguration, Mitch McConnell got in the way of a lot of it right out of the gate and really slowed a lot of that momentum down. So he has all of these things he's planning to do right away. Will John Thune get in the way? I don't know, but he has in the past, of course, spoken out against him, says we don't need him as president of the United States. He wanted other candidates. He spoke out pretty publicly about that. So, yeah, we'll be watching this very, very closely.
Well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, took a swipe at her own party on Monday. Now, she's been doing a ton of Monday morning quarterbacking. What went wrong? How'd we miss that? What conservative podcast should I listen to? What do the American people really want? It's very existential, all of her sort of video blogs that she takes to the internet because she thinks everybody wants that from her. But she says that Americans are sick and tired of fake people. That's interesting coming from her. She says Kamala Harris was supposed to be the alternative for Donald Trump, but she says people can see through kind of these fake alliances. Watch her say this.
Personally, I don't. I think that a lot of voters really don't like fake people, and they're sick and tired of fake politicians. And so what I actually think is worse is saying something you don't believe. And so if during the entire time in campaign season, you're saying that you're down with trans people or like the LGBT community, and then you lose an election, and then the next day you say all that stuff was wrong. I actually think what people are more upset about is someone was doing something they didn't believe and just saying something. Like, if you actually weren't about that life, why did you campaign as though you were?
Right. Yes.
I think that she doesn't understand the passage of time. Like, you can't vote for someone who then after the election didn't support the reasons you voted for. None of that makes sense. Like, in hindsight, you knew that that person didn't really support those things because you knew that after your vote was cast, they would drop that. It makes no sense.
Well, also, she's admitting that she knew that Kamala Harris was phony and totally fake on every issue, right? So what she's doing, why didn't you tell? So you're lying. You're fake. Why didn't you tell us ahead of time? You knew that she was lying. Why didn't you get out on camera, AOC, and tell all the Democrats she's phony? Like, we need a better candidate here. But you kept that close to the vest.
The same reason she campaigned as an anti-war candidate, and she's not really that. She's fake.
Right.
You're fake.
She's so rich to tell us or tell Democrats
and then support
about fakery.
Every war she's been able to vote on. She voted for war funding every single time.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. Good point. Physician, heal thyself.
Right. So it's being called the Kamala chameleon approach. So it could be a cautionary tale for Democrats in the future. By the way, don't pretend that you own guns. Don't pretend that you're for the sake, the security of the southern border. Don't pretend that you want men kept out of women's sports when they dress up and they pretend to be a woman. Like, all of those things. Don't pretend. If you did, we would, if you actually believe those things, you might be conservative. You might be libertarian. You certainly wouldn't be a Democrat right now if you're anti-war. Oh, boy. Well, get this. Here's a bombshell story that the mainstream media is ignoring. The CDC was planning concentration camps in the spring of 2020, according to newly released documents. So imagine this. In the middle of a national crisis, your government, yes, the CDC, sat in a room and planned a massive system of quarantine camps across the United States, camps where they would isolate entire groups of people based on their health status, their risk profile, as they called it. It sounds like something out of a dystopian movie, but no, in fact, it's the United States of America under your CDC. It's real. It was called the shielding approach. The shielding approach. Thanks to Jeffrey Tucker for breaking the story over the Browning Institute. Now, according to the CDC's own documents and plan, here you can read it, the interim operational considerations for implementing the shielding approach to prevent COVID-19 infections. This has now since been removed and hidden. The CDC is trying to hide this now. This is their detailed plan where they would set up green zones to physically separate people considered high risk. Imagine that entire populations, possibly your loved ones, packed into quarantine centers with severely restricted movement. By the way, they did this in Australia, as we covered it here on the show. They even included provisions in this plan to limit outside contact, meaning no religious gatherings. So you couldn't go to church or anything like that if you wanted to. No family visits. You want to go see grandma? Sorry. Your government is telling you, no, you can't. No legal recourse either. So no, your lawyers couldn't come and meet with you to protect your rights. Like, hey, you're putting me in a quarantine camp. Can I see my lawyer? Sorry, you can't. National health risk. CDC says so on their shielding approach plan. You're in there indefinitely, all in the name of public health. Now they'll tell you, oh, this was just a precaution, right? But let's be real. This wasn't about protecting people. This was about control. Pure and simple. And while they didn't roll these camps out specifically, this plan, I think, speaks volumes about the mindset of these public health institutions, the Dr. Fauci's, the people in the CDC, the people that were lying to you, all of you. They didn't scrap it because they saw the error. They didn't scrap it because they saw the error in their ways. They didn't shelve this at the time. They only removed it once it was revealed and long after it was drafted. Here's Jeffrey Tucker's reporting on this. He says, no matter how bad you think COVID policies were, they were intended to be worse. Consider the vaccine passports alone, he writes. 6 cities were locked down to include only the vaccinated indoor public indoor spaces. They were New York City, Boston, Chicago, New Orleans, Washington, D.C., and Seattle. The plan was to enforce this with a vaccine passport. It broke. Once the news leaked out that the shot didn't stop the infection or transmission, the planners lost public support and the scheme collapsed. This is a warning about the unelected health bureaucrats and how far they are willing to go. And that's why, like on shows like this or independent media, that we're calling out this stuff. we need to amplify that as much as possible because all of your mainstream media and legacy media was telling you that, Rachel Maddow telling you that the shot, stopped the spread of COVID, right?
She did say that.
And all these mainstream media organizations were telling you they were all sponsored by Pfizer.
They still say that. In fact, the LA Times still said that when they were taking a hit at RFK Jr., saying that the COVID vaccine
prevented the spread?
Yes.
They're still printing that?
And saved lives. Yes, they still, in their hit piece over the summer on RFK Jr., they still said that. And they only link to studies that show that the COVID vaccine lowered the use of ventilators. That's all they've got.
So thank you for subscribing to our channel here.
Saying, if we were to say that on YouTube, we could get banned for just...
Isn't that crazy?
Like, even suggesting, yeah. And
they reversed their course.
Times,
yeah, YouTube did a 180-degree flip, you recall. When we were reporting that, we got strikes. We got 2-week ban. YouTube blocked us and banned us for 2 weeks for reading Pfizer's own documents on the air. And then they reversed their policy 180 degrees. You can no longer say that it stops the spread, right? Now, if you say the opposite, you get in trouble.
We're not saying neither of those things. Let's just leave it right there because we're still beholden to those rules.
We are reporting what they said, what the Los Angeles Times said, but that's not what we said.
Right.
So anyway, full stop there.
Okay. Ukraine, they are very sad that Mike Pompeo will not be part of the new Trump administration. This headline here deserves a middle finger. Officials in Kyiv disturbed by Pompeo's snub. That's because obviously Pompeo is a war hawk and would keep that war going. And that's what they want. Ukraine is upset that Pompeo will not have a role in the Trump administration. We know this because Donald Trump over the weekend announced this, that both Mike Pompeo and Nikki Haley would not have a role in the upcoming Trump administration. And Kyiv officials called this, quote, a negative development. They worry that J.D. Vance's position will be the new U.S. position. What was that? Well, namely that U.S. has no interest in supporting the war in Ukraine, which is true. Now, President-elect Donald Trump has said that he wants this war to end. And there are reports now that he is working on compiling an envoy to Ukraine, much like the Middle East envoy that he already has appointed. Here are the headlines on that. Now, this would be a group of people, non-salaried, according to Fox News, who would go to Ukraine and force Ukraine to show the heck up at the peace table, at a negotiating table, which is why earlier I said, if Marco Rubio becomes Secretary of State and is part of that envoy, I would like to see him talk all that shit that he talks on the news to Vladimir Putin's face and see how little Marco looks then. Okay, but earlier today on Fox News, they had a contributor called Brett Velikovich. He is a former special ops guy, and he told Fox News that he's been in Ukraine recently. And in Ukraine, they're actually super excited about Donald Trump's election because that means that there is a leader in the United States that could, in fact, lead to peace. So they said that the media is lying to you when they say that the Ukrainians don't want Donald Trump. Watch.
But wanting the war to end soon does not mean not supporting Ukraine. People don't seem to remember that Trump provided lethal aid to Ukraine during his first term. He didn't appease Russia during the first term. He's just simply stating he wants the war to be over. And a lot of people want the war to be over.
Absolutely.
Ukrainians are very resilient. They're fighters from birth. They'll fight till every last man, woman, and child. But we shouldn't make them have to do that. We wield a lot of power as the American government, and Trump needs to use that power. Ukrainians want peace. They want the war to end. And one of the more annoying things that I have to see when I'm in countries, I have to sit there and watch liberal media coverage of the region that's been running near nonstop lies about how Ukrainians supposedly feel about Trump and pushing this fake agenda here in Europe the last couple of days of how bad supposedly Ukrainians think it is that he was elected. And that is just not true. I've had a lot of conversations with senior Ukrainian government officials who nearly every single one of them say the same thing. There is overwhelming and resounding excitement that Trump won the presidency and how much he's going to help Ukraine. They see Trump as the answer to ending this war and bringing back peace to that country.
Yeah, no crap. Yeah. They don't want to die anymore.
Yeah.
Nearly 1 million Ukrainians have been killed thanks to the U.S.-backed coup in 2014 that led to the entire decimation of a generation of young men in Ukraine. You want to say that this was Putin's unprovoked war? Well, you're an idiot. It's not. Read books, understand the United States CIA-backed coup that instigated this entire thing needs to be stopped. Trump knows it. And the Ukrainians now have had all of their young men destroyed, killed, or maimed beyond recognition. They don't want this anymore. anymore. And so to hear like these sort of Washington Post reports or The Economist is saying that they're upset with Trump winning is a total lie. Don't believe it 1 second.
Right. Well, you know who is upset, though, that Trump won is Zelensky, because this narcissist will no longer get on the cover of Vogue. He won't have any more media tours. If the war ends, then Ukraine will have to hold presidential elections, which Zelensky canceled, you'll recall. So they can't even vote him out. But if they get the chance after the war ends, then they will, in fact, do that if Ukrainian voters have any sense. Now, The Hill reports that Trump has a personal disdain for Zelensky, as if that's a personality flaw. Well, then I have that personality flaw. Anyone who has studied the history of this war in Ukraine should have this personality flaw of having a disdain for Zelensky. Boris Johnson, who is not in power right now, told GB News that the UK would just step up and send some troops to Ukraine if the United States stops funding that war. He doesn't have any authority to say this. That's probably a good thing, but the British people might want to shut that down, because he caused hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians to die by stink bombing the peace negotiation in 2022. This could have been done, but he deterred Zelensky from the already signed peace documents. So again, the Kremlin now is denouncing him for saying this. They said, having ceded power, Johnson continues to provoke and incite. In other words, shut up, Boris Johnson. The rest of us want peace.
I love this meme today. A lot of these memes are going around on social media, like of President Biden consoling Zelensky. He's crying and he's just putting his hand on him. You know, AI generated, but this one's going around today too. Zelensky calling up Trump. Is money coming? Go F yourself. And then he starts crying. And Trump laughing. I love that.
Go away, troll.
Go away, little troll. We're done giving you money, that's for sure. All right, we got more news here. Okay, let's talk about this UFO hearing today. The second big congressional UFO hearing today in Congress. We finally moved past the bullshit, everyone. Finally. 0 point energy, the actual technology is finally starting to get discussed here. Yes, like we've already established, the United States government has alien bodies. They have biologics. That's already on the record from the last congressional hearing. We don't need to rehash that. Yes, the United States government has these advanced technologies. Yes, the United States government has these crashed UFOs. They've had them for decades. Basically, any idiot knows that by now, or you're just willfully ignorant. So we don't need to rehash all of that once again. Now, you had Michael Schellenberger there, journalist Michael Schellenberger, Luis Elizondo. You had a number of other individuals, Rear Admiral Tim Godet also there speaking. So you had some pretty powerhouse individuals speaking in front of the Congress today. Michael Schellenberger put out 212 pages of UFO evidence and government cover-ups to Congress. He handed that over. In fact, he had to basically tell Congress, hey, you guys, there's a secret program at the Pentagon. It's called Immaculate Constellation. You guys should probably know more about it. And that's one of the big things that they were discussing today during this hearing, that they have thousands of high-quality UFO images, videos, FLIR camera images, all of it. You had Luis Elizondo, of course, who worked in the Pentagon. He just stated under oath that the government UAP program secrecy is, quote, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. We all know that, but watch.
Over the last decade and a half, I learned that certain UAP programs were and are operating without any of these elements. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
Yes, we are not alone in the cosmos. I think we all know that. And some very important, though, on-the-record discussions about how these alien craft travel using etheric energy. We're done past the bodies part of this whole hearing. We got that. We know that we have bodies, right? We know that we have the craft. So how exactly are they traveling? And finally, we started getting questions about etheric energy, about 0 point energy. I encourage you to watch my deep dive interview about the disappearance of MH370 Malaysian Airlines with physicist Ashton Forbes. I think it has almost 2 million views here on the channel. I go and watch that interview. He's astonishing. Nikola Tesla knew about etheric energy. And then, of course, they stole all those documents and they hid all of this technology right after he died. The FBI did, of course. So the UFOs have a way of extracting energy from the environment, from the air, negative energy, and it's all free. That's the thing. All of this energy is free. And so this is one of the big disclosure things we might now see under Tulsi Gabbard as head of the Director of National Intelligence. Also, the new director of the CIA, which we'll get to in a second. So a lot of big revelations specifically around the technologies piece during this 2-hour hearing today, which I watched. But Representative Luna asks specifically about UFO energy sources and whether or not it would impact humanity for the better or for the worse. Of course, it would be for the better, but, we got to do this little dog and pony show. But watch.
Perspective is A, that true? B, are you guys hearing the reports of that? And C, I think moving forward in regards to technology, Mr. Gold, if you can answer this real quickly, some of these aircraft, it seems that they are operating off of energy that we don't currently have. But just yes or no, in your opinion, if we were able to obtain that, would that impact humanity for the better or negative?
Would certainly save us some money on funding on Artemis.
Definitely.
And this is a national security issue, that if there is such technology out there, we're not the only country that might have access to it. We don't want to be on the wrong end of technological surprise.
So yes, we have this technology. We've been using it for a long time. All of this technology is well known within the United States government. You're not idiots. And it's being used by the United States government as we speak. During this hearing today, whistleblower Rear Admiral Tim Goday said we have satellite video of UFOs, lots of them, in fact, and hopefully Congress will make mandatory to release these videos to the public. Again, he's an admiral. He sees it all. And by the way, he's specifically been on the beat talking about all of the underwater UFOs that have in the ocean off of U.S. Navy craft, that they see them regularly. Talk to any person who's been on one of these U.S. Navy destroyers for any length of time. They've all seen them, by the way. Talk to them. Journalist Michael Schellenberger said we have full motion video, FLIR camera videos, infrared videos of UFOs. And by the way, he talked about low Earth orbit satellites. So we have all of these low Earth orbit satellites that are able to capture in color these UFOs, full color video, just like this. This one was leaked by a whistleblower, of course. This is MH370, the missing Malaysian Airlines. And watch as the 3 UFOs that in perfect triangular formation come right around MH370. And zoom right here. Here, there's the second one. And here the third UFO comes in. And then you'll watch as then, of course, using this etheric energy, the 0-point technologies, make the craft disappear. And so the United States government is responsible for this. Watch as then the airliner disappears. Right here, I believe. Right after this cloud. Watch. Here we go. This is an unbelievable video. And it's been confirmed. This is 10-year-old video, by the way. There we go. Disappears. And that aircraft, of course, gone.
What?
So 0-point technologies, they've been recovered from these UFOs. The United States government has them. The capabilities of this technology are monumental. We're talking faster than light travel. Imagine never needing to get in an airplane again because we already have this technology, but they're keeping it from you because they like to charge you for energy, of course. Instantaneous travel, unlimited energy that's pulled from the atmosphere. By the way, Trump's new head of the CIA, I'm hoping that he is going to disclose this. This is John Ratcliffe. He has been pushing for U.S. UFO disclosure. He will now be at the head of the CIA. He was trying to get this done while he was head of DNI or at DNI. Now Tulsi Gabbard will be at DNI. So hopefully as head of the CIA under Trump, we'll see more of this. So yeah, more on, and by the way, we're trying to get the Rear Admiral Tim Goday on the show. I've been emailing with him. So hopefully we'll have the Rear Admiral. He just testified in front of Congress today, and to have him come on and talk about some of these technologies that he's seen as Admiral in the United States Navy.
Well, we're seeing a media melt.
Sorry.
No,
I just want to chime in. Like, so if they do like disclose this and we find out that the government knew they were there, but didn't want to tell us, like that's one thing. But if they come to find out that they've had this technology, they have 0-point energy and they know how to use it, like we should all be incredibly pissed that they've kept that from us because like they basically set us back. Yeah. And so like if it comes out that they've actually have that technology, I'll be pissed.
They have. And I've spoken to sources that know of this. And one of the sources I spoke to, an expert, watched as they used this technology on a human limb that was missing, and they were able to regrow the limb. So not only it's travel, ultra fast travel, lightning fast travel, but also the health implications of this technology. It's astonishing, and we should all be pissed about it. Think about eliminating cancer. Like, we have the technology that eliminates cancer. Mm-hmm. We have the technology that doesn't make me have to go to the frickin' airport and wait in 6-hour flight delays to travel somewhere. I could go there instantaneously, but they keep it from us.
What do you mean, by beaming?
I'm talking about 0-point energy, fast travel, light travel. So they have this technology. They're using it. They're keeping it from us. And I'm glad
but why wouldn't you have to go to the airport? You could do 0-point technology from your house.
Maybe. Have you ever seen Star Trek? I could just stand on a teleporter pad and be able to go. I don't know how exactly it would work in practice. And what sort of craft. But anyway, now we're getting into like,
I didn't realize that this was consumer-based technology.
It will be. Okay. It could be. Well, I mean, when Nikola Tesla had it and had I mean, that's the thing. When he died and they went to his apartment in New York City and the FBI took all of his materials.
Yes. Yeah.
And they hid it from us because he had discovered etheric energy and his plans to make all energy free to all of us, where we wouldn't have to pay an energy company at all.
All right.
I mean, come on, people, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Let's talk about the media meltdown. Specifically, though, it's the liberal media, the leftist media, that's hurting the most. That's strange. Isn't it kind of strange? Well, there are reports now that MSNBC and CNN are announcing major layoffs, even of on-air talent. This headline from The Hill says CNN to axe hundreds of employees in a new round of layoffs, and MSNBC suffering a new low, as if they could stoop no lower. Now, we don't know exactly which on-air talent will get the axe. I have a list, in case anyone's wondering. The Guardian, meanwhile, announced that it will no longer use X, formerly Twitter, and fired CNN anchor Don Lemon says he's doing the same. He's leaving. A lot of leftists are leaving in... Aww. I know, it's really sad. How will we cope? Now, could this be a temper tantrum because they are losing their influence? Just today, ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino said this. Clearly, she's trolling these idiots, saying X usage is at an all-time high and continues to surge. To all of our users of every interest, political party, and point of view, you will always have a place to engage and join the global conversation freely and safely. Legacy gatekeepers are yesterday's news. That's why they're having such a hard time coping with this, because they can't just say bullshit without getting community notes, without having people say they don't want to hear this or that's not true, or having to face real conversation. They don't want to do that. Now, The Guardian says they're leaving the platform because, here's the quote, they think the benefits of being on X are now outweighed by the negatives, and the resources could be used promoting our journalism elsewhere. Where? I don't know. They say that the platform is rife with far-right hate, but they don't specify what that means. To prove that there's far-right hate on X, all they link to is a personal narrative of one of their journalists who tried to leave X and then decided not to. It's dumb. That's not proof. You're doing it wrong with your hyperlinks. Just this woman said she felt like X had helped fuel January 6th and the Southport riots, which turned out to be based on valid concerns about terrorism and immigration. But okay, good riddance to them. So do you think this will help the existing problem that we showed you in recent Gallup polls, that trust in the media is at an all-time low? Here is Don Lemon, legacy media CNN anchor who was fired. He says he's leaving X, and here's why.
Hi, everyone. I have loved connecting with all of you on Twitter and then on X for all of these years. But it's time for me to leave the platform. I once believed that it was a place for honest debate and discussion, transparency and free speech. But I now feel it does not serve that purpose.
Okay, he goes on to say that the new terms of service for X are such that if you want to litigate against them, it has to be done in Texas, because that's where Elon Musk has headquarters all of his companies now. And he thinks Texas favors Republican type concerns, and he thinks that's a scandal. I don't really see that a scandal, that you on your own company give yourself home field advantage on your terms of service. Pretty much every business contract specifies the state for litigation, and you get to choose where you think you would litigate the best. That's how this works. So maybe he's never seen a contract before. Actually, We know he's seen a contract because we have leaked documents of the contract he tried to put in place with X. Recall earlier in the year, he was trying to launch a show on X because Elon Musk had said he wants a diverse view of platforms and diversity of viewpoints after Tucker Carlson launched his successful show on X. So Don Lemon said, okay, I'll step up, I'll do this. But the Daily Mail leaked his diva demands, and the list was insane. You can find it yourself here. It included $5 million, a Tesla Cybertruck, $10 million per year in free ads to his show on X, a fully built out studio paid for by X, the ability to advise the company on all decisions about news content, which means he wanted to decide what gets censored and what doesn't. He also wanted the ability to approve any other news shows that X might put on the platform. So if, let's say, Redacted was going to go there, he would say, no, I don't want them. I do want them. He wanted to be fully in control. And I know it's funny, right? It's hilarious. And he wanted a share of all future shares on X plus equity stake. You want to laugh more about that, Philip? I love this.
How big do you think your
just
name is to demand that stuff?
Exactly.
I know.
Like you've got to be so full of yourself to be like I know it's not my platform, but it is now. If I'm there, it's mine now. I get full control over everything. Like, settle down.
I mean,
dude.
when I worked at Fox News, I was there on, Fox and Friends for many years, and every 3 years it was like contract renewal time. And I sort of lived in fear. I'm like, I hope I did a good job.
Right.
I hope they like me enough to invite me back and to offer me a new contract for another 3 years. And I used to go through that every 3 years at Fox News. Like, imagine the balls to be like, I want a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Hey, Roger Ailes, I want a Cybertruck. I'm not gonna anchor Fox and Friends anymore unless I get my demands.
I want to be your on-air talent hiring person. So if I don't like somebody that's also on the network, I want to say to kick them off.
Oh, you're thinking about hiring Tucker Carlson? You call me first, and I'll make a decision.
It wasn't even.
Who the hell do you think you are?
Look at these documents. Go back and look at the documents from the Daily Mail, and it wasn't even very formal. It called him Don. Don wants this, and Don wants that. I mean, if you look at his content on YouTube, because he's no longer going to be serving it on X, his view count's not super great. So people are not really thirsty for his opinion on things. Maybe it's going to be better because he won't dilute it by putting it on X. But I don't mind saying that his show is horribly obnoxious. What he does basically is roam the streets, bothers people to ask them about their politics, and then interrupts them and tells them they're wrong. Watch, here's one example.
Women I've been talking to are really, really concerned, and they're emotional, and I think a lot of them have a right to be.
Politicians aren't perfect. They're imperfect like everybody else. Trump's rhetoric isn't for everybody. His style isn't for everybody. We got a lot of good things done under Trump.
Okay, then what they did, meaning a woman's right to choose, is removed under Trump.
That's not the only issue in this world, okay? A percentage of the female vote went up 2%. So are those women crazy? I mean, it's not 50%, but it's high 40s, and he got that. So ask those women, like, they voted for Trump. So clearly it wasn't just abortion was the issue. Now, I agree. Even in very Republican states, pro-choice amendments have done very, very well. Okay, so it is a concern. I think most people are pro-choice, okay? But at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of people, there's other things. They're concerned about the broken border. They're concerned about crime. They're concerned about inflation. They're concerned about a lot of other things. So women are not one-dimensional. Men are not one-dimensional. And so if you're upset about abortion, great. If that's your prime issue, then go live in a state that's pro-choice. If it's not your one issue, like a lot of people vote for Trump, you got other things to care about, and he'll fix those things. Not totally, but he'll do his best.
I think it's easy for you to say as a man.
Well, dude, it's easy for me to say about a lot of things. Sure, I'm not a woman. That's why I don't opine on abortion.
It's amazing all of these uneducated.
So condescending.
Well, it's amazing all these uneducated Trump voters who are not well read on the issues.
Yes,
right?
That's what I was thinking when I was listening to that. I was like, okay, guy. I mean, if you see Don Lemon coming up to you, he's going to try to condescend whatever it is you say, no matter how brilliantly you say it.
I would have been like, why'd you ask me the question then, idiot?
Right. Yeah, if it's so easy for me, then don't talk to a man about abortion.
But also, did you notice how what a dick he is too, Don Lemon? It's like, the whole time he's looking at him, he's like looking at who else is like looking at him. He's like, oh, there's a woman over here. Hi, how are you? I'm not even listening to this guy talk right now. I have my agenda. Oh, hi, how are you? He's not even paying attention to this guy.
Is that really a good point, though? Like, it's easy for you to say this. Like, it's easy for any of us. We're not currently being killed, so we have the opportunity to talk. So anyway, he won't be on X anymore. It's so sad you won't be able to find it there, but you still can find his work on YouTube and Facebook, and he'll have to bankroll it himself.
Oh, great. So sad on that.